So, malaking aspect talaga ng game for both sides, no? Lalo sa mga composition na binubuo nila if required silang makakuha ng early game.
Kaya nga ang tawag ko doon is flashy mid. Kailangan yung mid lane nyo is on the strong game na ina-ensure yung early game. And above all the games that we watch and cast, actually maaga lagi natatapos yung mga games dito for MPL. Right now, papasok muna tayo sa ating drafting phase. Falcons ngayon ang nasa blue side and red side, ang Smart Omega.
Tanggal agad sila ng catch hero for Super Yoshi, that's a Kalea and the Phobius. So that explains na pwede silang mag-prioritize ng mga dashing heroes. For Kyle TZ, probably a Lancelot or a YSS. Pero dahil nasa red side nga ang priority dun sa pagban ng YSS and the 1-1, parang isa lang yung choice na possible eh. It's either get the Lancelot or magparsa ka ng early. Unahan mo yung Omega.
O yan, tinanggal muna yung Lancelot. Pero ano yung pwedeng i-prioritize dito for Falcon sa anggulong ganito midnight?
Maybe the Farsa para matanggal nila yung hero pool nila against Haji. I'm actually surprised na ganito yung trajectory ng draft for Team Falcons. Ang nililimit nila dito is yung Roman XP potential and they pick up the Baksha. One of the rare times na lulusot si Baksha from red side kasi tinanggal yung dalawang potent jungler na assassin. So instead of going for like a greedy route, kinover lang ng Falcons dito yung flex ng kanilang first pick.
And so far, nakita naman natin triple flex by the way. And even though nasabi nga natin na kailangan lang magbalik sa mga basic fundamentals, kung fundamentals sa pag-usapan, gold and the firepower Hayabusa agad para sa Smart Omega.
Nakalabas na agad yung yung dalawang damage dealers from the side of Smart Omega. Pero love the diversity, isang mataas na physical damage, isang mataas na magical damage. So ano pa rin hindi mo pa rin alam paano mo lalabanan. There goes the Arlot. Crowd control wise, maganda naman siya and it could also be a disturbance sa Hayabusa.
Oh, so sumabay agad sila dito ng somewhat a setter and Super Marco for the Moskov.
Yeah, I would say na parang nandun na yung late game answer ng Team Falcons is the Moskov and the Harith matchup. May early game coverage with the Baksha and Arlot against the Hayabusa. Now you find the Lapu-Lapu against the Arlot. It's a decent matchup for Team Falcons, pero nakikita mo na nagra-ramp up na early aggression dito yung Smart Omega. Regardless of any mage pickup ng Team Falcons, kayang-kaya silang i-disrupt ng Hayabusa sa early game unless matagal ko nang hinihingi ito unless makita natin yung Faramis pickup. Kasi yun talaga yung usual counter against the Hayabusa.
Yeah, and actually yun yung isa sa mga under sa hero pools dito ni Few. But by the way, sa kanyang interview via Tiebreaker Times, according to Few, yung pagka-upset sa amin ng Cambodia, nadala daw nila yon at nangihinayang pa rin sila kaya hindi nila nabigay yung full potential nila yesterday. And this is actually sa loss nga nila onto a 0-2 sa TNC Pro Team. And one thing is for sure, maaaring nakapag-reset na at mag-carry over naman dito yung gigil naman nila na somehow to end the week strong para sa MPL.
And for the draft, nagdo-double down ngayon si Coach Lembot onto removing mages. And even Team Falcon, kagura yung tatanggalin nila but still open nga yung mga Farsa. Kaso kasi hindi na ganun kataas yung priority dahil maraming pang istorbo yung dalawang teams.
Usually baliktad yan na parang kagura muna bago yung Selena. Pero feeling ko respeto lang din ng Smart Omega laban sa Team Falcon, especially with the performance na nakikita natin from Few lately. Hitting the marks with the arrows. But that's also very true for Team Falcons. Respeto lang din nila yung kagura dito ng Smart Omega. Now, Farsa and Valentina is both open. Medyo mas tempting, honestly, yung Zushin for Smart Omega because of the Baksha. Pero ang problem kasi hindi nila alam anong role nung Baksha. Mamaya pa nila malalaman yan. And if they don't pick the mage on Red 4, baka maunahan sila sa Farsa ng Team Falcon. So, might as well not risk it. Tanggalin nila yung there you go. Tanggalin nila yung Farsa and then you're able to get the Zushin Red 4.
Yeah, and if for Team Falcons, kahit pa paano may palag, may pansalag, if you had the Zushin here para kay Few. Pero on this angle kasi, may part din sa atin na pwedeng biglang may lumigong CC. But that would be too much bar. Pwede pa rin naman at posible for Team Falcons.
Parang ang hirap na din knowing na lapo-lapo na yung matchup. So parang hindi mo nagugustuhin yun for Team Falcons.
Yeah.
Baka may mga kadita pang lumabas. Kanina mas okay yung kadita dito?
I would say mas okay sa Falcons. It can eliminate the Hayabusa. Pero I think Kimi, yung kahit may Baksha sila, no, I think Kimi or Zushin, yung pwedeng isipin dito ng Team Falcons. Kasi yung Valentina hindi naman sobrang tempting for Haji. There goes the Zushin ban. So for Smart Omega, I think you choose heroes like Eve here, honestly. Eve, Kimi, Or kung gusto mo talagang itago yung mage pick mo, kuha ka ng Padang para kay Super Yoshi. Even yung Hylos ay napakaganda para hindi mahawakan ng Team Falcons against the Harith.
Pick off, and of course, you have to sustain. And for me, parang okay din yung Badang if ever. Kasi hindi pa naman totally revealed. Baka lumiko naman onto Assassin Jungler pa rin dito. Si LTZ. Pero speaking of pick off, that's going to be one of the signature heroes para kay Super Yoshi.
Siguro ano na lang din, parang pang-avoid nila doon sa mga high burst mage na meron ng Team Falcons or just force the mage na magka-purify.
Yeah. Ang isip ko dito for Falcons, honestly, you don't want to put the Baksha on jungle. Maybe get an assassin, Fanny, para kay Kyle TZ. Tapos pagdating naman sa mage, medyo malawak yung hero pool view dito. Marami siyang potential options. Honestly, it's still tempting to get the Faramis unless they want to pick up the Eve themselves. And then baka ang ending magkaroon tayo ng Squid Game, yung Valentina Eve. Pero kinuha yung Badang and Valentina. Sila kumuha ng Valentina.
Okay, interesting take do. So ano nga ba yung gusto i-accomplish dito with the Valentina pick for Team Falcons?
Parang itatrap na lang nila na yung mage ng Omega ay hindi ganun may impactful na ultimate. Just to prevent that, maybe may mga ano pa nga yung Kadita hindi na magandang ganun option kasi may Valentina.
Ganda ng Novaria dito sa ito lang.
Oo nga, no?
Kasi pag dirignan mo, superior sila pagdating sa team fight, medyo position-based yung Team Falcons. And even though may threat nung manakaw ng Valentina yung Novaria, kailangan niya mahanap kasi yung mage. Pero they go for the Louis. I would say, yung early tempo ay hawak dito ng Smart Omega as long as mapatay nila yung Baksha. Pero very well covered naman sila pagdating sa defense and survivability. Nandiyan yung Arlot, nandiyan yung Baksha. Pero yun lang, may malaking threat talaga yung Smart Omega dito pagdating ng early to mid game.
Yeah, it's too crucial kasi nakaasa rin sila sa magandang angulo para sa sipa ni Super Yoshi. But so far for the early game, isa sa na-check off nga nila doon is somehow take control, don't give up the early, and of course the mid control here with the Luyi. Pero for Team Falcons, ano may mas aasahan natin dito na sequence for them?
Well, yung late game nila masyadong potent because of that Moskov, so might as well survive yung early game dahil hindi na naman ganun kataas yung early game damage nila. They would really rely on sa objective guarantee ng Baksha.
Yeah. Maganda yun maganda yung idea na meron kang utility jungler for the early game coverage. Ang problema, hindi ganun kaganda yung matchups na meron dito yung Baksha, but at least you covered it up para may pang tawid kayo ng late game ng Moskov. Yun nga lang, it's all gonna be up to Omega if they are able to put the pressure. Kasi kapag tinignan mo yung duo mid nila, the Cho and the Louis, it's very aggressive.
Yeah.
Even though pagdating sa pindutan, kaya silang labanan nung Valentina, ang kailangan mo kasing isipin dito is yung mga TB plays na pwede lumabas mula kay Haji.
And the pressure is on as we head on para sa ating game number 1. Parehong kupunan na naghahanap muli ng panalo to end the week with a smile. Pero forward for Team Falcons and Smart Omega, nakita na nga natin yung early na kung saan very potent din para sa Smart Omega.
Taas nung folks, di ba? Yung dispersion rotation coming in from Haji, enough para pababain yung buhay ni Pew at that.
Sa pinakamalakas na duo mid yan yung Cho and the Louis. Unfortunately, Haji na-force yung kanyang flicker. Gandang rotation mula kay Kyle TZ. Typical utility jungler movements kapag naghiwalay yung duo mid ng kalaban, punta ka sa mid, mag-force out ka ng battle spell.
So ngayon, ang angulo para sa Smart Omega is to punish and get pick up as early as possible. For Team Falcons is somewhat checking off all the list na kung saan pagdating sa fundamentals, hindi rin tayo dapat nakafocus din sa early game. Pero nandun din naman yung mechanics for Few na kung saan, kung in paper, powerful yung duo, pero easily manipulated with Few and Ogwen.
Magsasama din silang dalawa kasi they want that insurance sa early game na sila yung unang mag-level 4 dahil ultimate dependent din naman halos yung mga heroes nila. And right now for this matchup, the Moskov Harith, hindi magkakaroon to ng 1v1 moment unless forced nung mga teammates.
Parang mas later pa talaga natin i-expect if ever. And the possible first blood might happen onto the turtle take kung sakali. Pero tutok din tayo sa matchup ng Arlot and Lapu-Lapu dito midnight.
Yeah, I would say lamang talaga ng bahagya yung Lapu-Lapu kasi si Arlot medyo abangers kapag kakalaban mo yung Lapu-Lapu. No? Hindi naman siya mag-clear basically. But for Team Falcons, cover naman sila dito. Hindi naman agad-agad magagamit yung XP advantage kasi paspon pa lang din naman yung turtle. Pero interesting na choice to magpapa-level 4 yung Lapu-Lapu sa mid.
Oo, nag-transition sila, no? Just so makikita natin, all of them are just waiting onto their ultimates. Pero Sakyo on the spot here, even Few ay level 4 na rin. Pero wala pa naman siya makakopy dito. But instead, Super Yoshi proactive onto the
Pero
front.
final slash mula doon kay Flap TZ. And that's James falling down. Pumasok pa rin sa likod. Etong si Flap, tumama nga lang yung SOD na magagaling sa baba pero hindi naman napapasok. Meron pang fist break para itulak papalayo ang members ng Omega.
Mabilisan lang, pero sino lumamang doon?
Falcons for sure, nakuha nila yung kill, nakakuha pa sila ng pagong. Quick turn mula dito kay Flap TZ. Bottom in, however,
Netsky sumusubok ng 1v1 against Super
Pwede,
Marco, winning those damage changes. And si Super Marco pa napilitan na gumamit agad ng heal pero hindi naman niya mapilit umuwi.
Yeah, doesn't matter kasi for him, at least na-force out niya yung Zaman Force, equal footing sila. And kapag bumaba dito yung Team Falcons, kailangan mag-reset ng Harit. So at least, yung ginawa ni Marco, it's a trade na mapipigilan nila yung potential play dito sa may bottom lane.
And what we would want is somehow magstay as long as he can pagdating nga doon sa laning against sa Harit. Pero tututok ulit tayo dito for Smart Omega na kung saan nabigla din sila pagka level 4 na Q, gaya agad ng Bravest Fighter. And on to this round naman ay tila ba for Team Falcons, hindi naman din sila nagmamadali.
That's so weird, DP.
Top lane, ang gusto ng Smart Omega. Papasok si James doon sa bush 3. And Super Yoshi with a fly kick. Para kay Flap TZ, binawian lang yung ginawa kanina.
I mean, ang ganda ng concept ng packet sila pero medyo overcommitted yung TV mula dito kay Haji. Now, because of that, the punish is there mula sa Team Falcons. Late sila sa pagbalik sa mid.
Yeah, and that's a super flashy move. But technically, so they will still take it na papunish this early si Flap TZ. Which means for Smart Omega, kahit pa paano na i-interrupt nila yung process na maagang magsama-sama yung members or Team Falcons. Pero speaking of sama-sama, dito tayo sa may bandang mid lane, it's going to be the Shield Unity. Gulong para kay Kyle TZ.
Kyle TZ sumusubok na habulin ng mga members ng Smart Omega. Naipit nga lang doon si Super Yoshi. Napakagandang pader mula mismo kay Ogwen, and that's a kill.
Ito na yung early group up ng Team Falcons para at least malimit yung snowball possibility dito ng Smart Omega. But ang maganda naman dito sa laro ng Smart Omega is hinahayaan lang nila si Netsky, hindi nila fina-force yung mga team fight kasi alam nila currently strong yung back siya ngayon ng Team Falcon. So hintay ka muna ng mga proper items like yung Starlium Sight nung Harit and then you play according to your timings para hindi mo ma-miss yung window na meron ka. Kasi kapag na-miss ng Smart Omega yon, baka makita lang natin yung Team Falcons, maaga dumating yung late game para sa kanila.
Yeah, and that's a good thing for Smart Omega. Hindi naman sila masyado nagrush through. There were trades, even the turtle year para sa Team Falcons kasi nakuha nila. But interestingly so, para sa kanila, hindi pa ito yung time para magpanic, magmadali. And even Super Yoshi, kahit may mga dumadaan, hindi siya masyado push through. Pero kapaligtar pa rin gagawin.
Way of Dragon, gagamitin kay Ogwen. Returning the favor. Down ang rover ng Falcons. And this time, final slash. Napakaganda pala kay Flap TZ. Pero Zaman Force, hindi ko kukonekta yung SOD na yon. Kaya hindi habol si Super Marco. But this time, Flap TZ ang may ipit sa kamay ng apat na miyembro ng Omega. That's 3-1. And they clearly won the trade.
This is where it changes for Smart Omega. Ngayon kita natin yung impact na kapag kasama na nila yung Harith, they are stronger in terms of 5v5. Ganda rin yung bush na nahawakan dito ni Super Yoshi, allowing them to control the river. And Team Falcons, medyo sila yung forced na mag-respond doon sa laban na yun. Kahit pa, honestly, kahit tumawa yung SOD, I don't think the team fight would have changed that much kasi hindi pa fight ready yung Moscow ngayon.
And this is why kanina sabi ko nga masyado tayo nakaasa din kung gaganda yung mga angulo ng silip, sipa para kay Super Yoshi. And that's your answer, right? Ngayon, para sa Team Falcons naman, tila ba masyadong shaky pa muli yung early game nila. Pero even with Fuse sa Valentina, tila ba more on time, lagi yung Bravest Fighter lang yung nagagaya niya.
Kailangan niya talaga ng kasama o kailangan niyang kopyahin yun para may kasama sila Kyle TZ and Flap na pumasok dun sa likod. Meanwhile, James with the Bravest Fighter. Just putting Ogwen out pero may sipa mula ulit kay Super Yoshi na na-cancel lang yung second phase, and this time, hahabol ang Team Falcons. Few with those dashes. Papasok with the Bravest Fighter. Papasok pero nandiyan naman si Ryzen. Kaso doon sa gitna, nandun si Flap TZ to dash away and get James in the process. Now si Haji ang naipit. Final slash connecting at si Few ang makakakuha ng kill.
What a great turn of events para sa Team Falcons. That's going to be a 3-man down against Smart Omega.
That cancel on to the second part of the way of the dragon. Hindi tumuloy yung stun. Lumabas yung CC immunity mula kay Ogwen. Natulak yung tatlo mula sa Smart Omega. And because of that, naka-free hit dito sila Few. Ang ganda pa ng counter set mula kay Flap TZ with the final slash. And Smart Omega, even though the attempt was there, it was nice mula kay Super Yoshi. Na-halt yung execution eh.
And you're right about Few being one of the initiators. Kaya kinailangan niya talagang gabahin nyo or kunin yung bravest fighter dahil nga hindi sapat na lagi si Flcn or even Kyle TZ yung sumasalubong alone. Now, even with Super Marco, mas nararamdaman na rin natin ngayon na pag tumama yung SOD, meron nang mangyayari versus kanina.
Tsaka wala ding masyadong magandang ibang ultimates na kopyahin. Yung Louie, hindi naman din nila makukuha yung value out of that the diversion.
Yes.
Dahil hindi naman sila yung tipo na kailangan sila yung sugod ng sugod. Merong switch na sila dapat yung mag-react.
Yeah. Lumilit yung window ng Smart Omega. It's closing in actually. After nung laban na yon, yung Lord, dito masusolidify yung late game advantage ng Team Falcon, especially having this Moskov. Kahit pa sabihin natin, Moskov lang, basically naka-funnel yung late game aspect dito ng Team Falcons. It's still a Lord setup that they have to execute for Smart Omega na kailangan may pansagot sila kay Super Marco.
Yeah, ang hirap ng reach dito if ever for Smart Omega. And you're right about the window closing. Kasi after that failed attempt with Super Yoshi, pwede silang bigyan kasi nagkakagulo-gulo ng mga targets.
Yung diversion nila ay medyo namataan at nakita kung saan papunta, kaya medyo handa ang Team Falcons. And this time, napigilan man nila yung turret siege down bottom lane, pipigilan naman sila ngayong umakyat for the Lord.
I mean, yung pagpunta ng Smart Omega sa may baba, it's to counteract the slow push na pwedeng gawin dito ng Team Falcons. Babalik pa rin naman sila sa mid. So, it's all okay for both sides. Unfortunately, may mga battle spell atang wala for Smart Omega. So, the Team Falcons, rinse and repeat lang yung gagawin nila. Papadala nila yung Moskov sa bottom lane. Pero kailangan nila mag-ingat sa possible diversion play na manggaling wala kay Haji.
That's a very nice call. Nabanggit nga natin, actually, yung flicker para kay Haji hindi na ready because of the siege. Pero para sa Team Falcons, we've mentioned, kailangan lang nila maganda. Yung strength nila is to counter-attack yung mga incoming na mga attempts here for Smart Omega. There's going to be another diversion para kay Haji. Papunta sa taas.
Kita! Alam na naman nila kung saan pupunta! Ganda ng panera magmumula kay Owen now! Connecting, papasok si Few with the bravest fighter na kinopya niya! At ngayon yung isang miyembro ng Omega ay mawawalang bigla sa kamay ng Team Falcons!
Imbis na mabigla, nagustuhan pa nila yung diversion na yun.
That's a crazy read mula sa Team Falcons. Mind you, nag-clear lang naman si Netsky pero alam nila TTP pabalik. Si Haji and Open leading the charge. Kung kanino mang shot call yun, napakalupit na basa mula sa Team Falcons.
Yeah,
James ulit papasok siya with the bravest fighter. And this time may ipis on the spirit of misery. Si James! Pa yung nakakuha ng Lord and it's Smart Omega pulling up a miracle. Kaya naman yung tatlong miyembro ng Falcons ay mawawala na parang bula kapalit ng dalawa. Pero yung Lord objective ay nasa Omega.
3-4-2, pero mukhang pwede pa kumusto dito si Ryzen. It's going to be the dashes and shadows. But still, a Lord na nakuha pa dito at nanakaw nila James.
Oh my goodness, mistime retry mula kay Kyle TZ. James as well with the jump. Tapos sinundan niya ng sipa mula kay Super Yoshi. Ryzen with the shadow kill. And even though laki ng advantage na nabuo ng Team Falcons nung nawala si Haji doon sa laban na yon, it's still Smart Omega creating and making the window happen for their side. Makikita natin dito sa laban na to, Netsky as well in the front lines. Napatay kagad nila si Fuso, nabawasan yung front line dito ng Team Falcons and then kinulang yung kanilang DPS. Kahit pa sabihin natin may Moskov, no? Yung Team Falcons dito, kapag patay na yung mga frontliners, kailangan niya rin mag-back up kasi punong-puno ng damage dito yung Smart Omega.
Yeah, even the failed attempt from Flcn's final slash ay nakita rin natin na malaking dago para sa Team Falcons. Pero that's a great momentum shift para sa Smart Omega na kung saan sabi nga natin, the windows are closing in. So why not create a new door or opening? Grabe si James dito. He can afford to do so pero diversion muli, sasama sila sa Lord.
Alam din medyo na-sense nila Owen and Super Marco na kahit mag-isa yan ay maya-maya pwedeng may pumunta. Pero Kyle will intercept the path pabalik ng Smart Omega pero wala na rin siyang kasama because they chose to back away.
Yeah, they disengage. Wala kasi yung Hayabusa. If Ryzen was there, maybe nakita natin yung Smart Omega na pinangga mismo yung back shot. Pero they're playing it safe. And alam nila na hawak nila yung mapa ngayon, hawak nila yung river, hawak nila yung mid, and this gives them everything. Kasi the mid lane is the ultimate access for Haji to TP anywhere. Yung diversion na yan ay malaking threat para sa Team Falcons.
Kung kaya naman di rin nila binibitawan yung third tier turret nila on mid lane for Smart Omega, you still have that element of surprise. Pero what comes next is actually what is the key para dito Smart Omega. Looking at their Infinix in-game equipment, kamusta na ba ang angulo dito for Team Falcons?
Ang malungkot dito is nabibehind na yung jungle-to-jungle matchup. Lumalamang lang sa gold si Ryzen. Lalo pat meron na siyang Malefic Roar and yung Endless Battle. super high damage output dito yung lineup ng Smart Omega. But then again, they have to consider the fact that they're still fighting into a Moscow na may late game advantage. Kung magkakalaban ng Smart Omega dito is hindi lang yung late game aspect or yung farm ng Moscow, yung macro advantage kasi. So labanan to ng SOD at Diversion.
Nakita na natin numerous times at even teams against 10k gold lead ay kinakaya nga nila na naka-base din. Siyempre, sa kung paano nga ba yung magiging mechanics sila. But looking closer, Joshi Kicks, parang may napansin ka rin.
Sobrang taas talaga. Kinakalculate ko yung advantage ni Ryzen. Quick Mats. That's 3.3k gold lead. Mas mataas pa sa gold lead ng Omega.
Isa ka na human calculator.
Very nice.
So, ganun kataas yung lead ni Ryzen and that would explain na hindi din papasok at lalaban yung Team Falcons right now.
Kasi he's very hard to catch sa Hayabusa, di ba? Kaya nga kanina, para bang question mark na akala natin hindi na ito yung magiging jungler actually para sa Team Falcons. But with that said, ngayon magre-respond na ang pangalawang Lord para sa laban na to onto the vision, nakaabante si Few at ang kanyang gagayahin niya is going to be the way of the dragon.
May mahalaga kasi na ma-crowd control nila yung Hayabusa na sinasabi natin na sobrang lamang. But this time, Flcn goes in with a flicker. Final slash na mama lang sa isa. But here comes Super Yoshi. Umaamba ng sipa pero hindi pala. Ngayon si James ay nasa likod, nanggugulo lang. 5 bagro laban sa 5. Ngayon na 3 na lang na malala. And sino pong makakakuha ngayon? Si Haji pa! Yung dalawang retry ay hindi naka-retry. Ngayon 3 yung tutumba. For Team Falcons make it 4 at hinahabol pa itong si Ogwen na mamibilit na tumakbo pero Super Yoshi dashing jet kundo. Kaso di na nila ahabulin pa. Gitna na lang yung punteriya kasi pwede namang tapusin na ng Smart Omega.
Hindi ka ba talaga uuwi? O sige, mauuna na kami sa bahay nyo. Ngayon si Ogwen naabot kaso 5 kumpleto para sa barangay.
Summon Force na ginamit na rin para sayawan itong si Ogwen. And that's it. Binanggit na. Hindi na kailangan pang hintayin ang pagdating ng Lord. Sapat na ang oras para kunin ang Game 1.
First game win ngayong araw para sa Smart Omega. Taking the lead, taking the charge laban sa Team Falcons.
Good macro objective from Smart Omega. They understood how they want to deal with the Moscow. They started a slow push. Hindi nila kailangan intindihin yung SOD. Pumunta yung Team Falcon sa harap ng Lord. And even though na-force yung Zaman Force, it was still Smart Omega that prevailed. Hindi nga nag-matter kung nanakaw yung Lord eh. Kasi naipanalo nila yung succeeding na team fight.
And actually, the river control was crazy, of course, for Smart Omega. Very direct and precise attacks here for Super Yoshi. Yung mga pagtago, pagsipa niya from the back, equalizes onto numerous advantages para Smart Omega.
Tsaka nag-matter yung front-to-back damage ng Louie na hindi niya na kailangan, wala silang kailangan gawing extra to reach the back lane. Just, brute force lang na harap lang. Sige, wala tayong ibang problemahin.
Yeah, and honestly, yung last Lord fight din ay medyo malaki yung mali sa part dito ng Team Falcons. They could have honestly waited out the Lord fight a bit kasi na-exhaust na yung Zaman Force. But when they decided to commit for the Lord take, yung Smart Omega, actually sila naman yung nasa utak na patayin na lang natin yung ibang heroes.
Yeah, and on to that round, of course, is going to be our game MVP, James, with his lapu-lapu. Binaril tayo eh. Pero nakita niya kasi kung ano nga ba yung mga dapat niya patumbahin, jumpan from the back with his lapu-lapu play.
Ito para sa akin talaga yung tempo setter ng Smart Omega. Aside from the duo mid ni Haji at pati na rin ni Super Yoshi, James, the ultimate fight, bravest ultimate fighter ng Smart Omega. Lalo kapag hawak niya yung lapu-lapu, kita mo din talaga yung identity ng player. He is the initiator, he is the attractor. May ganun akong term yung parang ang laki ng atensyon na nire-require ni James sa mga team fights.
Tsaka yung mga ginagawa niyang minimal detail na lagi lang niyang titignan kung nasan si Few, papasokin lang niya ng papasokin. It really is a disturbance. And we've talked about it during the draft na kung disturbance yung usapin, si Flcn yung magiging sagot sana ng side ng Team Falcons. Ang kaso nga lang, lapo-lapo to eh. Di mo mapipigilan sa likod yan.
It was good until there was James, diba? James happened and the ultimate fighter yet again showcasing yung smart targeting niya. Hindi niya agad kinocommit yung bravest fighter not unless he sees Few on the map.
Tsaka medyo malungkot dito for Team Falcons. Ang daming close range heroes sa kanila. So kapag tinamaan sila ng second skill ng lapu-lapu, nakakota yung damage reduction na meron yung Lapu-Lapu. So hirap din talaga yung Team Falcons patayin si James sa may bandang unahan. Meanwhile, you have FlapTZ that is doing the same thing na maghaharap ng final slash, even sometimes committing the flicker para mahuli niya si Haji or even sometimes si Netsky. Ang malungkot kasi sa lineup nila is yung follow-up. Almost non-existent kapag naunang pumasok si James. And even if ma-delay ng konti yung Lapu-Lapu, as long as matatalon siya sa harap ni Super Marco, effectively tinatanggal mo yung strongest hero sa mapa for Team Falcons. And then you have Smart Omega that could just re-engage with a Shadow Kill mula kay Ryzen, Zaman Force, mula kay Netsky. Ang daming access na Smart Omega. Multifaceted yung kanilang team fight. And it's all because of James. Kasi nalilimit yung one important resource dito ng Team Falcons, which is yung spacing sa mga team fights. Kasi natatanggal sa equation si Super Marco.
And like what you've said about si Super Marco yung isa sa main target niya, and si Super Marco din yung pinakamataas na pinanggagalingan ng damage from Team Falcons. Removing Super Marco doon sa equation, saan magagaling yung damage ng Falcons? Yes, nandyan si Few, nandyan yung Valentina, mataas naman yung damage dealt niya, 27k, pero yung value ng Moscow yung nawawala kapag nandyan si James eh.
Actually, itong nakikita na natin, ito na lang yung naging product ng ginagawa ni James na kung saan hindi talaga umarangkada yung damage output ng Moscow. Ang ending si Few pa yung mataas. And sometimes nakikita natin si Few kokopya na ibang skills. Honestly, it would have benefited Team Falcons greatly kapag yung Lapu-Lapu sana yung laging ginakuha kasi at least dagdag frontline. And if mag-1v1 si Marco at si James, so be it. Ang ending, nabibigyan ng maraming spasyo dito sila Ryzen, sila Netsky na mag-dish out ng damage. James being the sandbag, he made this possible for Smart Omega, and dahil sa kanya, yumaman din yung Hayabusa.
And back to our BPI rich guy na si Ryzen nga no, on point, undisturbed, and so far, there was no one from the side of Team Falcons to actually take down or lock down na Hayabusa. Babalik tayo dun sa nahirapan talaga sa Few. Instead of him just focusing on to delivering the firepower, meron naman damage actually yung Valentina. Kaso nga lang, dahil nahahati yung objective na kailangan niya, is doon talaga para bang nag-iba-iba yung naging attack or